Okay, let me check that. I think we are live on Facebook now. Okay, so welcome to the Monthly Money Matters Convo. This is a platform where we engage experts, we engage people who are doing great stuff within the financial literacy, financial education space. And today, being a month of October, we have someone amazing with us. We have followed his work for a number of years now, and he and his organization are doing something great within this space. And it is really an exciting moment for us to have him. He's a busy personality, a great personality. And so getting the opportunity to interact with him today, it's really a great privilege. And I will introduce him and then we will get into our conversation. Always remember, on the Monthly Money Matters, achieving financial independence is the goal. We want everyone to get access to the right information, the right resources, so they can leverage that to achieve their financial independence and financial freedom. And so today, our guest is a co-CEO of Afraton International, a social organization that is delivering a social franchise that is delivering social and financial education through a network of nearly 400 partner organizations in 100 plus countries. Its mission is to inspire youth to socially and economically empower themselves to become agents of change for a more equitable future. He is currently based in Nairobi, Kenya. Previously, he worked for 20 plus years with the United Nations, UNICEF, and World Health Organization, including a UNICEF representative in Sierra Leone, Georgia, and Zimbabwe. He coordinated the UNICEF response during the Ebola outbreak in Sierra Leone in 2014-2015. In Georgia, he worked with the government on the institutionalization of all children living in large orphanages established through the Soviet Union era and managed the humanitarian operation in Obzazia. I hope I got that right. In Zimbabwe, he coordinated the UNICEF development program and protracted humanitarian crisis. That is 2014 to 2019. Displacement, cholera, political violence, hyperinflation, collapsed basic social services. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest for today is Roeland Monasch, the co-CEO of Afraton International. You are welcome to the Monthly Money Matters, Roeland.
Thank you, Peter. Good evening, and it's a real pleasure to be with you today. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. We are excited to have you today on the Monthly Money Matters workshop. We have been following most of your works, and we want to commend you and your team for the amazing work that you are doing within the financial education, financial literacy space. And so to begin our conversation, we would like to have an idea of how you grew up and whether money conversation was a norm growing up.
As a child myself, I was born in the Netherlands. I'm Dutch. However, what many people are not aware of is I moved quite quickly to Africa. My father was an old school tropical doctor, so I actually learned walking in Jimma, Ethiopia. I went to primary school in Mwanza in Tanzania. But to be honest, my parents never spoke about money at home. I never got financial education. I never opened a bank account as a child. So I didn't really learn much at home. I had a great childhood without any worries, but I wasn't being taught about money. I think the only thing where I learned about scarcity was when I was playing in the school. At school with marbles on the school ground, playing and trying to get more marbles from the other kids in the school playground. And in secondary school, I collected stamps. So with my schoolmates, I was bartering stamps, and there was a value, and you wanted to have the right stamp because it was worth more money. So I got, by playing certain games and activities, I learned a little bit, but I knew very little, hardly anything, even about interest rates or anything like that.
Great, great. So from your wealth of experience now, do you think teaching financial education early or to teens, or maybe early childhood financial literacy education, do you think it's something that is worth it?
Well, it's essential. It's absolute essential. Every girl and boy, young man, young woman need to learn the basics about money. If you want to be successful in life, you like it or not, because in many cultures, talking about money is a bit of a taboo. These days, it's easier to talk about sexual and reproductive health than about salaries, incomes, and money. But you need to teach children. I mean, so many children will never complete their education. They will never get a job with the government or in the private sector. They will have to start enterprising themselves, but nobody is teaching them the basics. So how can you expect them to be successful? So yeah, it needs to be taught. It needs to be taught in school, and it should be early. Primary school age is absolutely good timing. We at Aflatun, we even have preschool material for financial education.
Great, great. Teaching children financial literacy at their early stages is essential. Thank you so much for that. So my next question is, what is your profession and how did you get into it?
As you mentioned, I'm the co-CEO of Aflatun International. We empower children and young people with essential social and financial skills. And we basically believe that we need to build resiliency so that these children and young people can take control of their own lives. How did I end up here? As you mentioned, I worked for more than 25 years for the United Nations system, mainly with UNICEF. We were focusing on child survival, keeping children alive, providing them with education, basic education and protection, which is all very important. And to be honest, I was a rising star in the UNICEF system, but I myself felt that I was failing. Every day I was driving in my Land Cruiser from my house to the UNICEF office, and on every corner of the street, I saw girls either pregnant or with a small baby on the back, 14, 15-year-olds, selling peanuts. And every corner of the street, it was the same peanuts. And they were knocking on my window, buy my peanuts. And I felt like, what are we doing for these girls? And these girls, unfortunately, beyond their control, they dropped out of school, and nobody has taught them, okay, what can I do with my life? How can I make my life better? So I realized that we need to do something else than just sending them to school and giving them health services. And I started to look around, and I came to there were a number of initiatives, but the most powerful initiative I came across was Aflatun International. They have this child social and financial education, which I'll hopefully be able to talk a little bit more in a few minutes. But I realized that this concept of empowering girls and boys with these essential financial skills is so powerful. It's a no-brainer. Of course, children need to learn to read and write, but as soon as they can count and they can read, you need to teach them about the basics about finance, about savings, responsible spending, the difference between needs and wants, and how you make a plan, how you can make money work for you to survive and thrive. And with my mindset of UNICEF, where you do things at scale, where you have systems change, I realized, okay, this concept, we should roll it out at a large scale. And so I decided to leave my comfortable life with UNICEF and made the jump to Aflatun. And our vision is to empower children with essential financial and entrepreneurship skills.
Great, great, great. This is so amazing. Just like my story, after I had a conversation with my granddad and how his financial actions and inactions impacted his life after retirement, I decided to commit to financial literacy, advocacy, and education. And today I look back and I am proud of some of the things that as an organization, Center for Financial Literacy Education, you have been able to achieve, and the empowerment that we give to the people within the community. And so thank you so much for doing this, leaving your posh job, leaving your renowned job to focus on social and financial education is so important. And thank you so much for that. What does financial literacy mean to you?
In a nutshell, I think that financial literacy, financial education is an opportunity for children to break the cycle of poverty. If you provide children with financial literacy, you can build their resiliency, and you allow young people, youth, to take control of their lives. And at the same time, if they know how money works, they can also contribute much better for the society. So I think it's an enabler, it's an empowerment, it's an essential tool, which is unfortunately not enough recognized as a key life skill for any child or any boy, any girl, any young person.
Great. Financial literacy is an opportunity for young people to break the cycle of poverty. And that is a powerful statement.
It's true.
What does your work with Aflaton International contribute to the bigger picture of driving financial literacy and social education? How does your work with Aflaton contribute to that?
Thanks for that question, Peter, and allow me to elaborate a little bit on it. We at Aflaton, we passionately believe, and I think you do the same, every girl, every boy should gain some essential social and financial skills. It's part of their education, it's part of growing up. And at Aflaton, we do that through a very playful, interactive approach, where we take children through sort of 5 core steps. And the first step is more like the social side. We create positive self-esteem. The children are learning, who am I? What are my dreams? What do I want to achieve with my life? So you really have them a positive perspective on their life. And then secondly, you embed them within the community. So it's about rights and responsibilities. It is, what can they expect from society, but what can the community expect from me as well? So you embed them, you want them to make responsible contributors within their larger environment. They realize that they're part of something bigger. Now, these are the social skills, and they are essential, and a lot of organizations are doing that. But at Aflaton, where we then say we are different, what we are saying is that, but okay, if you want to have these young children who are positive at life and they want to make a contribution, you need to teach them about money, if you like it or not. But if you want them to act, to make a contribution to the society, they need to understand how money works, because your life, my life, everybody's life around the world, including for children and young people, every day we talk about money, we deal about money, we worry about money, we make decisions about money, but they're not being taught how. So we are basically saying you need to learn children about savings, responsible spending, what's the difference between needs and what you really want. And then we teach them about how to make a plan, how to make a budget. The basics, doesn't have to be very complicated, but they need to understand the principles behind it. And then ultimately, learning by doing together with the peers, we learn them some basics on how to set up a social or a financial enterprise. So together with peers, they learn those basic skills. And as they learn those skills, they learn a lot of other 21st century skills. So they set up a club, a financial club. They have to elect for a chairman or a financial secretary. So they learn to campaign for the elections. They learn about democratic rights on how do you elect. They learn about speaking so that they can campaign to be elected. So all these other 21st century skills are also being embedded in it. But the core is social and financial skills. Now, the bigger picture on where does this come? We think about sustainable scaling. So we are by registration an NGO, but we're not your traditional NGO where we fundraise and implement projects. We really believe that we need to have a movement, which you are also trying to create, and together we are so strong in this. We are at the moment saying, okay, it's not Aflaton who should do it, but all the NGOs, civil society organizations, governments, you all have a responsibility. And we basically, as Aflaton, our added value is we create content. We have an enormous network of local organizations which are using it, and they are a breeding ground of innovation. So we learn best practices and we share those among all these organizations. So you improve the quality, the latest learnings on how can you empower children with these financial skills. And we have a two-prong approach. We're basically saying the NGOs, the civil society organizations, they are best placed to reach the most vulnerable. So let them focus on the kids who have dropped out of school, or in the areas where there's a high dropout rate, or where girls are especially vulnerable. There the NGOs are best positioned to reach the most vulnerable children and young people. But at the same time, even affluent children need to get those skills, and the better off ones. Everybody has a right to those skills. So we're saying at the same time, we need to talk with governments to integrate it into the national education system. So we work on one side with 400 NGOs, but on the other side, we also work with ministries of education, central banks, and we advocate to integrate this in their national curricula, to make it part of the education system. And that way you can reach everyone in a sustainable and a scalable way. I hope that answered the question.
Yes. That is a comprehensive one. There's one thing I keep saying: we need a common voice to promote financial literacy and financial education. And with a platform that you have created, the strategies, the structure that you have developed, I think will help us touch a lot of people. Because if you are leveraging about 400 plus NGOs, you are working with government, you are working with central banks, you are working with Ministry of Education, that is the best strategy you can use. So similarly, what we are also doing is we have created the Improving Financial Awareness and Financial Literacy movement. And we want to work with major universities, we want to work with major NGOs, because we see the university as a communication platform. They have access to the young people. For example, in Ghana, University of Ghana has about 40,000 students. And so if you are leveraging University of Ghana to champion financial literacy, you are touching 40,000 students right on campus before they even come out of school. And so we need a lot of collaboration within this sector. We need a lot of partnerships, and what Afraton is doing is really, really great. Leveraging government, leveraging NGOs, leveraging community leaders to champion financial education. And we commend you on that effort. So now let's look at what are some of the social skills you see relevant in this 21st century.
What skills are relevant for the 21st century? Of course, you have the usual skills, that adaptability, collaboration, critical thinking. But again, I'd like to iterate entrepreneurship skills, financial skills are part of those life skills we're talking about. Maybe a small anecdote. Earlier this year, UNICEF at the headquarters, they launched a report of a survey they did with mobile interview with nearly 600,000 children around the world. 300,000 just from Africa were interviewed. Adolescent girls and boys, what is for you the most important?
Yeah.
And the girls and boys, 600,000 youth, 300,000 from the African continent. Just from DRC, 50,000 young people were interviewed. And they all said, we want to go to school. We want to learn. We want to have access to health and understand sexual education, sexual reproductive health. That was the second point. The third point was we need to teach our parents about girls' rights. But then number 4 was we want to they literally said we want to understand financial skills, financial literacy. They asked for it. And then the 5th point was financial empowerment of our parents to take control of us. So 2 of the 5 points, the young people, more than 300,000 in Africa, and these are your average young people, not the highly eloquent or the ones which are always being paraded. These were the ones who were asked by a mobile, simple SMS phone, what do you want? Yeah. And it was all about financial skills. Now, when you look at what was the response by UNICEF report, they said, well, we interviewed them. These were the priorities. So our response is going to be life skills for the children. They didn't want to dare to say financial skills, but the kids were asking for financial skills. But still, our biggest challenge is that the establishment in the United Nations are thinking about the fashion. They're talking about climate education. They're talking about digital skills, and they are important. But the kids are talking about financial skills. So when you ask what is important in this 21st century, you probably need to look at the package. And from my perspective, it's about, yes, it's about the environment. It's about the digitization of the world, but it's really about responsible resource management.
Yeah.
And when you talk about responsible resource management, it is also teaching the children about money, because finance is a scarce resource, like the environment is a scarce resource. So while everybody always talks about sustainable development, at the moment, we're only talking about digital and the environment. But the real thing is we need to talk about the finance side as well, because sustainable development is social, environment, but also economic. But nobody dares to talk about that. And you and I will need to continue to fight every day so that everybody will join our vision and our mission.
Great. So let me ask this question. Now the world is pushing financial inclusion. There's a lot of conversation around financial inclusion, getting everyone included in the financial systems. So what is the relationship between financial inclusion and financial literacy? Because if we want everyone to be included in the financial systems and they don't have the education, they are not even aware, how can this work out? So what do you see to be the relationship between financial literacy and financial inclusion?
It's very simple, Peter. You've already said it. There is no financial inclusion without financial education. You need to have more than financial education to have financial inclusion. People need to be able to access to open accounts or use mobile money. But without financial education, you can never have true successful financial inclusion. And therefore, it's also important not only to talk to ministries of education, but also to talk about to central banks, ministries of finance, to commercial banks, to the digital money providers. We all need to work together because it comes together. You need to teach specifically the people who have been financially excluded. They're also the people with the lowest financial skills at the same time. So an investment in financial education and financial skills, financial literacy is essential if you want to be truly successful in financial inclusion.
Great. Because I see the financial inclusion agenda. Most governments, most central banks are very passionate about the financial inclusion agenda, but then they are forgetting that without financial literacy, the people can be included. But then if they don't have the idea, if they don't have the right knowledge about finances, that can also be a challenge. And so thank you so much for reinforcing on that for us. My next question will be, share with us. My viewers are waiting for this. Share with us your top 3 financial mistakes.
That's a very personal question, and I come from a society where you don't talk about money. But let me
on the money, on the monthly money matters platform, we talk about money.
Okay, yes, I'm with you, and I should learn, huh? Even me. I didn't start saving early enough. And that's absolutely, you're young, you get your first salaries or your first income, and you spend it on something nice you want to have, and that's fine. But ultimately, on the long term, you need to start developing goals. And I didn't start doing that early enough. I remember that when I was a young professional, I was sitting with a group of guys, and one of the guys was talking about his pension. And we were all looking at the guys like, what? Pension? That's 35 years from now or 40 years from now.
Yeah.
The guy is financially independent as we speak, while we're all still working because the guy made a plan. So the second one is I'd never prioritize my pension early enough, and it is important if you are able to work on a pension to do it. Of course, many people will not work in the formal sector, and they will be independent or informal entrepreneurs. But one way or the other, to set something aside for the future or for difficult moments is important. And I think the third point, I lived in so many different countries, and I had opportunities to buy real estate, and I never did it. And I should have probably bought real estate, because real estate is on the very long term is the most stable investment from my perspective. And if you can buy something small early and then grow, sell it, buy something bigger. I have a friend who has made jumps every 5 years. He bought a bigger house, and he's now has a huge pension plan through his real estate. And I should have done it as well. I haven't. So that's my other mistake. Here you are. I spoke about my own money here. Are you still there, Peter? Hi, Peter. Are you there?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm back.
Okay. I don't know if it was you or me, but we lost each other.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, Peter. I can hear you.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes. So my light was taken, so I don't have light at the moment, but I think we can still finish our.
Hello, Peter. Are you there, Peter?
Hello. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now, Peter. Yes.
Yes. So a minute. So I lost my connection. There was an electricity issue here, but then it's back. So I think we can zoom into our conversation.
Okay.
Our world. Bluetooth mode. Connected.
Also, you want to go to school? You want to learn?
Disconnected.
A minute. Okay, so let's continue with our conversation. So you were sharing with us your top 3 money mistakes, and I think you were wrapping up with that.
I confessed everything. I have nothing to add.
All right, sure. So based on that, share with us your top 3 financial or money advice.
Advice. As an adult, my financial advice as an Aflatoon co-CEO, I would say you can't start early enough to teach your children about money. That's the one advice. Second advice would be demand from your school of your children that they teach financial education. So it's not only you who have to do it, but the school system does it as well. So start early and demand from your school, your teachers, that they teach financial education in school. For the young adults, for the children, for the young adults, probably start saving, start thinking about putting some money aside for difficult times. And then for the children is try to open a bank account. Ask your parents, ask your guardians if it's needed that you need an adult signature. Go together to the bank and ask them to show that they understand, they learn, and it's fun. If you do it right, it can be fun as well.
Great, great. So we need to start early. We need to save if we want to avoid some financial mistake. We need to take advantage of real estate. If we get opportunity to buy a real estate property, we should do that with gladness. Yes, so thank you so much for that. This is my favorite part of the entire conversation. I call it the money word play game. The money word play game. So I have a word, I will mention some words, and then you respond to those words based on what comes to mind when we hear these words.
Okay.
Yes. So my first word is money.
Money is opportunity.
Opportunity. Great. So you can expand a bit further if you want to.
It's an opportunity to create the life for yourself, for your family, for your community. It's a tool to reach your goals.
Awesome. Marriage.
Marriage is team, together.
Okay. Okay. Car.
Well, my wife thinks it's a want. I think it's a need.
Okay. Okay. Savings.
Savings.
Yes.
Savings. Important, essential, responsible, but most likely important.
Important. Great. Spending.
Spending. If you do it responsibly, it can be fun. But do it wisely.
Great. Needs.
Essential expenses like education for your children, really healthcare, these types of things. Insurance.
Wants, yes.
A new car.
Okay.
Or a new bicycle.
Okay. Budgeting.
Manage your income and expenses wisely. Budgeting is an essential tool. Many times, even myself don't do it wisely enough, but it is really important to make sure that there are more money comes in than goes out.
Great. Goals.
Goals for Aflatoon is we want to reach more and more children around the world. Our goal is to partner with 600 organizations. We want to work with at least 60 governments to integrate financial education into the education system.
Great.
And ultimately, through these systems, we want to reach more than 60 million children. That's goals, ambitious goals. But if we work together, you, me, Peter, and all the other people online, we can achieve it.
Awesome. Awesome. Investments.
Investments. Important. Do you have different types of investments? I'm not an investment expert, to be honest. I'm more about the basics about money. But as I mentioned before, I should have done more real estate earlier.
Okay. Net worth.
Net worth is that's I find that I'm not really. For me, in my culture, that doesn't have a positive connotation. But I think financial health is a more important word.
Okay. Okay. Cash flow.
Movement of money in and out. And again, you need to be wise, and more should come in than go out.
Awesome. Employment benefits.
They're good. They're important. I mentioned earlier a pension. Of course, employment benefits are very important to demand and make sure that you get what you want when you talk to your employer, specifically when you start a job, because that's the moment where you negotiate your secondary benefits. However, the reality is that a lot of people around the world, specifically in Africa, will have informal jobs, even if they are enterprising. So again, it means that your secondary benefits won't be there as clearly as with the formal sector. So another extra reason to make sure that you have savings and build that buffer for yourself for difficult times, but also for your pension.
Great. Insurance.
Managing risk.
Managing risk. Estate planning.
Estate planning. Isn't that something where you plan about beyond your
Yes.
your own life cycle? Your
legacy, succession.
I think it is one of the things I actually did wisely is every month I put a small amount aside on a special account for my child. She's not even aware that I'm doing it, but there is something there.
Great. Great. Financial independence.
Financial independence is when you can buy both your needs and your wants.
Okay. And finally, abundance.
Abundance is if you have abundance, it's time to share. It means that you are doing so well that you also have a responsibility to take care of the people who are less likely to manage.
Great. Great. So abundance is basically giving back, sharing, imparting into others,
exactly.
Making sure the community benefits. Awesome. Awesome. So, Roeland, how can financial education be improved globally? How can financial education be improved globally?
Yeah, the most important thing is as you say, there needs to be a much stronger movement on financial education. First of all, it means that people like you, me, your listeners, online and offline, work together. We all need to advocate for the essential financial skills for girls, boys, young women, young men. We need to demand from governments that we integrate these essential financial skills into the national curricula. It needs to be part and parcel in every country of the education system. We need to start early, and in that way, if we all move together, we can convince also the traditionalists who are afraid to talk about money to start talking about money and to start educating the people who need that information. Again, at the moment, everybody is expected to learn it from their parents, but many people are living in poverty because their parents themselves have never learned how it works, and that's why they are in a difficult situation. So governments need to take the responsibility, and people like you, Aflatun, and all the partners, we can convince these policymakers to make sure that it becomes part of the core sustainable development goals.
Great, great. I was having a conversation with one of my partners, and I told him we have 17 sustainable development goals. Can we make it 18 by adding financial literacy?
Well, one of the things you and I and all the listeners need to do is, we are very close to this 2030 Sustainable Development Goals target. But
Yeah.
they will start coming with new goals after 2030. We now already need to lobby so that in 2030, when the new global targets are being agreed on, financial education, financial literacy is part of those core targets. It's not like part of life skills. No, it needs to be very clearly said. Financial education, financial skills is that. To be honest, maybe if you allow me, if you have 2 minutes, what we did 2 years ago, there was the Transforming Education Summit in New York, where the UN special, the Secretary General called for a global meeting to improve education because there is an education crisis.
Sure.
And we actually wrote a letter, all the partners from Aflatun, close to 200 wrote a letter to the Secretary General, and he said, if you start talking about, when you want to transform education, it means that you also need to include financial skills as part of the of education systems. And we also wrote letters to the UNESCO's and the UNICEF's, but they didn't respond to us. But in fact, the Secretary General's office, they wrote back to us and he said, in fact, you have a point. Why don't you come to New York and present and talk about financial skills at the summit? And at the end of the summit, during the summit, UNESCO didn't want to talk about it, UNICEF didn't want to talk about it. The Secretary General came with a statement himself, what his vision was for transforming education. And I'm happy to say that in the document where he said, this is my vision statement for education, he specifically highlights that young people need to have financial skills. It's written there. So there is slowly a change. There is a recognition coming more and more that it needs to be part of it. But we need to remind everybody every day that it really needs to be there. So by 2030, when we set up the new goals, it's a no-brainer, it's there.
Great, great, great. So we need to remind everyone every day that financial skills is so important. So we need to keep the conversation going. We need to create dialogue. We need to have some of this conversation, bring in the policymakers, bring in strategic partners, bring in key stakeholders. And I believe together we can make financial literacy a household name across the globe. And so thank you so much for all you do. But before you go, we want you to talk about Afrotone and some of your initiatives and what are the upcoming initiatives that we should look out for.
Well, I'm very excited and happy to share, and your listeners should feel free to reach out to me, my team around the world. We have upgraded all our content. As you know, we have content for preschool, because again, you can't start early enough. It's about delayed gratification is a financial skill. Self-control, these are concepts you learn during preschool ages already. And if you invest in those types of skills, these young people, these toddlers will also have more financial skills when they grow up. So start early. We have the latest content on preschool education. We have revised all our primary school and out of school package for primary school age children. We have revised and reviewed all our adolescents, and we have content for 13 and 14-year-olds, content for 15 and 16-year-olds, and that can all be contextualized to the local unique situation. Our content has been translated in our over 15 languages, and we continue to translate and contextualize it so it works in every setting. We also have just finalized our AFLA Youth, we call it, and that's really financial skills, entrepreneurship skills, employability skills for young people who are transitioning from school to work life. And in the coming weeks and months, we're going to share that around the world, and we're very excited about it. And again, I invite anybody to reach out to Aflatun so we can share, you can join. We have the latest content. We have also included, as I mentioned, the environment and digital skills, because you mentioned already, what about financial inclusion and financial education? Digital financial skills, of course, are extremely important. So also that has been a priority for us to develop the skills among children and young people on digital financial skills specifically. That's the latest. It's very exciting. We're doing also a lot of research on showing that it works. So lots happening.
Great. Great. Thank you so much for coming on the monthly Money Matters conversation. I believe this has been an insightful conversation. A lot of information have been shared, a lot of thought-provoking ideas have been communicated, and I believe our viewers will appreciate this, and this conversation will keep on going so we can all help promote financial education, social skills, and financial literacy across the globe. Before you go, your final words to stakeholders, to government, to our viewers.
Well, my final words is first of all, financial education is not a nice to have. It's a core part of any education system. And then my final words is probably the first sentence I mentioned. Social and financial education is a very powerful tool to empower the next generation and to really break the cycle of poverty. And we can really provide the conditions for children to take control and get out of the poverty trap by providing them those basic financial skills.
Great. Great. Thank you so much for coming on the show. We are grateful. And Center for Financial Literacy Education, we will keep in touch with Aflatone. I believe there are a lot of areas that we can work together, we can collaborate and promote financial skills and social skills in Ghana. So we will get in touch with the team to see where both organizations can collaborate and champion this important skill set. Yes. So
thank you so much, Peter. Appreciate it. We're together in this.
Yes, thank you so much. So thank you so much for joining us on the Monthly Money Matters conversation. This was the October edition, and watch out for the November edition, where we will talk about driving financial literacy education. This whole year, we are talking about driving financial literacy education, and it has been great. Roeland from Aflatone International has shared with us some insightful, thought-provoking ideas and comments that I believe we can leverage to promote financial literacy education across the group. Thank you. And remember, the goal is not more money, but financial independence and financial freedom. See you same time next month.